know that you've been begging us to update our add-on for MOP Classic, and we're proud to announce that it is finally here, including brand new features that will even help you get the perfect stats and gear on every spec. But in case you don't want to save hours of time installing everything you need in just one click, this video will guide you step by step on how to perfectly set up your UI for Mists of Pandaria in PvP. And let's get started with the #1 add-on you need before even stepping foot into Arena. If you're the type of person who loves to min-max their character, you need ReforgeLite. This add-on will automatically give you the perfect stats by reforging your gear to the exact breakpoints. It's almost like magic, but there is a problem. This add-on is an absolute mess to navigate at first, and you will need to know your stat priority, including specific breakpoints. But not to worry, because all this information is on our articles site, which is linked below. Anyway, once you're at the Reforger, set the target level to PvP, and then uncheck any of the external buffs. Now you will need to enter your stat weights. Use 100 for your most important stat, then 80 for the next one, 60, and so on, following your stat priority. Your least important stat should be the smallest number. Then you will need to enter your breakpoints. Since I want 12.52% haste, I will enter 5,320 to represent that breakpoint. And as a DPS, you will have to do the same for hit and expertise caps. Then we will hit calculate, and then show, and finally reforge, and the add-on will automatically reforge all of our gear. And before you exit, be sure to save your preset at the top so you can use it later. But with the click of a button, you now have the perfect stats for PvP. Of course, knowing the exact stat weights and breakpoints for every spec is going to take some time and research, but if you are a SkillCapped member, you will automatically get perfect ReforgeLite profiles for every spec in PvP. And along with our BIS list feature, you will automatically know how to gear your character without ever needing to tab out. But now we have another problem to solve. Unfortunately, there's no edit mode for Mists of Pandaria. And if you want to play with the UI you're already used to on retail, you're going to need a few things. As our base, we're going to go with BetterBlizzFrames. This is one of those add-ons you wish you knew about sooner. Now, right out of the box, it might seem like nothing has changed, but let's type /BBF to pull up the window and adjust some important settings, starting with hiding arena frames. This will hide Blizzard's default arena frames when you are using an add-on like sArena, but more on that later. Then, this one is very important. We will want to make sure loss of control is enabled. The lose control feature that is baked into retail is not part of the base UI in Classic, and this single feature is massively beneficial for your awareness. Then there are some optional aesthetic tweaks we can make, including class colors on frames and bigger health bars, which will mimic the retail experience if you're into that. You can also replace portraits with class icons if you're into that sort of thing. And if you want to skip all of these steps, our add-on will configure every option automatically, including every quality of life feature. And if you're a SkillCapped member, you can skip our next step, which will save you hours of research. Now, if you're one of our smartest viewers, you already know that nameplates are a really big deal in PvP. They're like a cheat code to increase awareness and damage at the same time. There's just one problem. The default nameplates absolutely suck in Classic. Not to worry though, because BetterBlizzPlates will fix everything. Once you're in-game, type /BBP to bring up the options menu. If you want to make your nameplates look exactly like they do on retail, set the size to 0.9, target size to 1.2, and then height to 1.08. Then be sure to check this box to enable class-colored nameplates, and set the width to 130. We're then going to check this box to create an icon for our healer, our partners, important pets, and then a totem indicator, which will be super helpful in this expansion. Now, this next step is really important. In the Nameplate Auras tab, we're going to whitelist our most important debuffs. As a rogue, I want to be tracking my Rupture and Hemo Dot, but I don't really care about seeing my poisons or this Master Poisoner debuff. To fix this, I will go to the whitelist tab and add the spell ID of both Rupture and Hemorrhage, and then check the first two boxes to only track my own debuffs while making them bigger and easier to see. Filtering your debuffs is enormously beneficial for most specs, and it will increase your damage if done right. Of course, manually adding these filters one by one is going to require a ton of research, but if you want to save time, SkillCapped members automatically get a comprehensive filter for every class and spec. And when you are installing our UI, you can even select options to show combo points on nameplates, and this will work for rogues, druids, paladins, warlocks, shadow priests, death knights, and windwalker monks, displaying your secondary resources directly in front of you. While it's technically optional, we highly recommend getting Bartender for two huge reasons. Number one, Bartender will allow you to set up your bars exactly how you want to. You can move anything on your screen, and even fade out or completely hide those tiny annoyances like the micro menu, which add clutter to your screen. And number two, Bartender makes keybinding a breeze thanks to the quick keybind feature. No more needing to fiddle around in the WoW menu. Everything can be bound to the simple highlight of your mouse. We recommend playing with at least 5 bars total, with 3 on the bottom of your screen and 2 off to the right, which our add-on will automatically do for you. With your bars in place, we suggest grouping abilities into categories like offensive CDs, defensive CDs, utility, and so on. This will make information much easier to pick up at a glance. And if you want even more information on your bars, we suggest LiteButtonAuras. This add-on is simple and adds buff timers directly onto your action bars, which can be useful for players who experience tunnel vision in Arena. You don't have to adjust any setting here. And speaking of which, we're going to need some Arena frames, and there are a few to choose from. Unfortunately, at the time of making this video, Gladius has not yet been updated for MOP. Luckily, our UI package includes a custom version of sArena, which is a near one-to-one copy of our Gladius profile. Even though this add-on is fairly plug and play, let's type /sArena to bring up the options menu. Then we're going to press test. You can then choose whatever layout you prefer using the drop-down menu. One suggestion we have is to increase the size of the enemy cast bars, which will make it easier to land interrupts. Oh, and if you plan on playing BGs, definitely get BattlegroundTargets. This is basically the sArena for any Battleground content, and we recommend moving it to the same location as your Arena frames. Anyway, now we have our unit frames set up, let's optimize them for PvP. Even if you are the person who hates add-ons, there's absolutely nothing to hate about BigDebuffs. This is one of those add-ons that makes life much easier by increasing the visibility of key buffs and debuffs on different parts of your UI, including your target and focus frames, and also your raid frames, which is incredibly helpful as a healer for quickly dispelling CC, and even as a DPS to see CC on your partners, especially your healer. Out of the box, you will need to change some settings like increasing the buff limit. If you play a hot-based healer, you definitely shouldn't play without this simple setting enabled. You can then adjust the priority of buffs. Here you can tailor the add-on to your individual preferences, but we suggest making sure CC has the highest priority. Our BigDebuffs profile automatically includes all of these settings and syncs up perfectly with our BetterBlizz plates by showing CC on the right side of nameplates, separating out key information, dramatically reducing tunnel vision. Next up is BuffOverlay, which is so lightweight and useful that there really isn't any reason to play without it. All this add-on does is add a simple buff overlay of any major defensive cooldown directly onto the raid frame. Since it only tracks defensives, you really don't have to do much configuring and should be safe playing with default settings, but feel free to disable anything if needed. Again, we don't suggest playing without this, especially as a healer, since you are already looking at raid frames anyway, which will make it much easier to spot when your DPS uses their major defensives. If you are an advanced player, we highly recommend playing with OmniCD. This add-on will allow you to track your party's cooldowns, which is really useful no matter what, especially if you're playing without voice. As a DPS, you'll be able to see when your teammate has CC ready, allowing you to line up your burst and assist with cross CC too. If you're a SkillCapped member, we've automatically configured this add-on for you, but if not, we're going to teach you how to set it up anyway. For most players, tracking cooldowns and CC will be most important, especially in MOP, where coordinated goes are a huge part of setting up kills. We also suggest tracking interrupts too, if you plan on playing without voice chat. Feel free to be selective on what you track, but remember that balance is key. You don't want to track too little or too much, which is why our profile is set to only track the most important information. As far as location is concerned, we suggest anchoring OmniCD to the left side of frames, once again to keep more space open in the center of your screen, while preventing it from overlapping with your focus frame if you are using our UI layout. Of course, OmniCD adds a lot of additional information to track, especially with everything else going on in your screen, which is why we're considering OmniCD optional, better suited for more advanced players. Now we need some of our other heavy hitters, starting with OmniBar. This is another S-tier add-on in PvP, allowing you to do the impossible by tracking enemy cooldowns. This means being able to juke interrupts, play around upcoming defensives, and even predict upcoming CC chains. If you are serious about Arena, you need OmniBar. However, many players make a huge mistake with this add-on, thinking it's immediately good to go once installed. Not only is there a ton of trash you don't need to be tracking, but every cooldown will be clumped together in a giant mess that is impossible to quickly read at a glance. Let's fix this. Step 1 is to actually create different bars to track different types of cooldowns. We will devote one for interrupts and another for crowd control, and we suggest putting both of these somewhere near your cast bar. Then we will make a third bar for major defensives, and finally for extra credit, we will make a fourth bar for any spell disruptions, like Grounding Totem and Spell Reflection, but you could definitely throw these into interrupts too. If you are a SkillCapped member, you can even use our pre-configured add-on profile, which has done all the work for you, including the next step, which is to filter out all the junk you don't actually need. If you want to keep your UI as clean as possible, you don't need to be tracking smaller cooldowns. It might seem tedious to split up your bars like this and make all of these filters, but it will be worth it in the long run by making information much easier to digest. Our final heavy hitter is, you guessed it, WeakAuras. The add-on is so good it will be banned sometime next year. But for the meantime, let's use it to increase our awareness. Now, there are obviously a lot of WeakAuras and packs to choose from, but we've made things easy for you. We worked hard to give every spec perfectly tailored WeakAuras for PvP. Everything you would ever need in one click, all in one ecosystem. This includes tracking important buffs and procs directly to the right of your character, and if you're missing a buff or if you haven't summoned your pet, you will get a reminder in the center of your screen. This section will also display any active defensive cooldowns on your character. Then on the left, we've included tracking for trinket and cloak procs, which are super important in MOP. Then we have an optional personal resource display if you are used to it on retail. If you don't want to play with this, you can delete the WeakAura or uncheck this box in the look and feel section of our installer. We know that clutter is the #1 complaint for modern UIs, which is why everything we include perfectly fits together in the center of your screen, minimizing clutter and allowing you to keep your focus on the action at all times. We then handle enemy cooldown tracking with 2 auras, one that is only active in Arena and the other which is designed for BGs. We've even got some extras like this Party CC WeakAura, which shows when your partners are stuck in crowd control. There's also another one we've included that alerts you when the enemy healer is drinking, and finally one that will automatically add raid markers to your party. Obviously there's a lot here, so feel free to disable anything you don't plan on using. Now let's get everything lined up on our screen. If you want to be perfect here, make sure to get any working align add-on. Then once you're in game, type /PPA and go into Group Finder and start your own custom group, which allows you to see your raid frames. We can move our player, target, and focus frames by right-clicking them and hitting and pressing unlock on the drop-down menu. We recommend moving your player and target frames slightly towards the middle of your screen, and right below them, lining up your party frames with your focus, keeping both of those in line with your arena frames off to the right. Balance is key here. We want to make sure important information is within our peripheral, but we want to keep the center of our screen a bit open in order to see gameplay. And if you want to skip all these steps, simply use the Bartender, sArena, and BetterBlizzFrames profiles, which will set everything up for you. And if you are a member, you can add your unique code here for the complete configuration. Our add-on also includes a bunch of quality of life features, including the ability to automatically set your spell queue window. This will set a custom lag tolerance based on your latency, which ensures there are no gaps in your rotation. And if you want to set this yourself, you will need advanced interface options. This will easily allow you to adjust some of the hidden settings in WoW, which we automatically do for you, including increasing the maximum camera distance and making sure you have the right graphics settings and more. We've also included FrameSort in our UI package. This will automatically put you at the bottom of your raid frames, which makes it easier to see who is Party 1 and Party 2, and if you play with party macros, this is an absolute must. And if you want to skip all of these steps and download the #1 UI for PvP with the click of a button, be sure to use the discount link below. Not only do SkillCapped members get a fully configured interface, but an insane head start on the competition. We are the #1 resource for mastering MOP PvP with hundreds of guides available right now. There's no better time than now to sign up with a single monthly fee that gets you access to guides from Classic, The War Within, and eventually Midnight. 3 games, 1 subscription, and over 400 rating guaranteed. Visit skillcapped.com to learn more.